Hello, welcome, and thanks for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Singh. Topping our newscast tonight, the Senate Finance Committee, chaired by Senator Clifford Graham, has its hands full with budget review hearings to iron out the fiscal year budget 2015. On Tuesday morning, officials of the Department of Public Works defended their budget proposal before the committee. The department also got flack from some senators on the budget appropriations. News 2's April Knight has more.
It was Commissioner Darrell Small's turn Tuesday morning before the Senate Finance Committee to defend the Department of Public Works' budget request for fiscal year 2015. Public Works is asking for $19,295,000 from the general fund, and although they are expecting more than $17 million in federal funds to fuel certain projects, officials say they really cannot endure any cuts to the general fund budget request.
Do not make any reductions to the budget as submitted. The department desperately needs to fill positions, provide timely transportation services, and perform road repairs and reconstruction.
According to Public Works, it has worked on capital projects worth more than $250 million as of 2007. After services and charges worth more than $9 million, personnel services make up the second largest expense, some $5.8 million of the budget. The department's workforce has been dropping steadily, shrinking by 1/3 in the last 8 years.
The operation of the division has been re-engineered, with most employees performing multiple duties. Despite the department's fiscal and human resources shortfalls, the staff remained dedicated to complete all the proposed projects.
Some senators raised concerns on what they consider a discrepancy in the funding between the two districts. St. Croix, they say, seems to be getting a smaller share of the appropriations.
And when you talk about St. Croix, and what is being done on St. Croix, or what is not able to be done on St. Croix, it's extra personal, because those of us who live there understand how incredibly depressed St. Croix is right now.
The stimulus bond was $80 million. $12 million for St. Croix, enough said. The ARA monies were $18 million. $4.6 million for St. Croix, enough said.
Public Works insists they are doing what they can with the funding they are given. Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
Now, the $17 million federal funds hinge on the U.S. Congress's approval of legislation that would transfer some $10.8 billion into the dwindling Federal Highway Trust funds. Another budget hearing was held on Monday, that of the Department of Justice. Attorney General Vincent Frazier testified before the Senate Finance Committee and presented a proposal of almost $20 million for the Justice Department. $13.6 million of that would come from the general fund, $6.3 million would come from federal funds, while $270,000 would come from the Special Crime Prevention and Prosecution Fund. The Finance Committee also heard from Finance Commissioner Angel Dawson on his department's budget. According to Dawson, the Office of Management and Budget is recommending a budget of $5.2 million to come from the general fund. Later, Bureau of Internal Revenue Director Claudette Watson-Anderson also requested an appropriation transfer of $1.1 million to fund a needed increase in staffing. Meanwhile, Governor John DeYoung is calling for a special Senate session on Wednesday, which would target the territory's fiscal crisis. The governor proposed last month to borrow some $169 million, which would cover the projected $30 million budget deficit and funnel some funds to the ailing hospitals in both districts. The senators, however, rejected that proposal and put forth their own, which would involve the $50 million short-term capital loan. This and other budget concerns are expected to be addressed in Wednesday's special session. Count on 2 to keep you updated. Well, just a note to motorists, part of Hospital Street in Christiansted will be closed Wednesday morning to allow the National Park Service to remove one of its trees, as we reported, and that's from 7 to 11 a.m. The section of Hospital Street next to the Christiansted National Historic Site will be closed. Traffic headed eastbound will be rerouted to Church Street. National Park officials will be removing a mahogany tree that's been standing on the property for more than 70 years. The tree's roots are causing problems for the surrounding infrastructure, so officials are having it removed. Motorists are asked to find alternate routes to avoid delays. On Tuesday, Governor John DeYoung announced the selection of the Water Island Development Company as the developer to advance a first-rate resort and hotel project on Water Island. The selection is a result of the expression of interest, or EOI, advertised by the government last September. He said with the assistance of RevPar International, a hotel development and management firm who has successfully completed a range of similar projects in the U.S., Caribbean, Europe, and Asia, they focused on the specific hotel development branding for the island, attracted several suitably qualified firms, and selected a company with whom they have begun lease negotiations. Over 10 firms participated in that proposal process, and 8 named hotel brands expressed interest in the property. The Water Island Development Company was chosen based on the collective experience of their team, who individually have financed and developed multiple ventures, including resorts. In other news, candidate for delegate to Congress Stacy Plaskett addressed the issue of a glitch in her campaign website that directed recipients of her campaign emails to the website of Governor John DeYoung. According to Plaskett, the Boston-based web developer company N2 Innovations that created both her website and that of DeYoung took full responsibility for the coding error that caused that glitch. Plaskett also clarified that the list of email recipients belonged to the web developer and was not obtained from any entity and certainly not from the government of the Virgin Islands. Plaskett recently went under fire from opponents Sean Michael Malone and Sen Hansen for the alleged use of taxpayer dollars to benefit her campaign. Plaskett added that her camp would welcome any investigation by the Federal Elections Commission into campaign practices in the territory. A couple has been ordered to stay away from the DV Carino Bay Casino. Insular investigation detectives on St. Croix arrested them on July 11th after they learned the couple had altered scratch tickets in order to win cash prizes in the amount of $8,000. The couple, 65-year-old Matthias Matthew and 50-year-old Francisca Herman, were taken into custody at the casino.
Detectives said the couple, who were celebrating Mr. Matthews' birthday, presented altered promotional scratch tickets to the casino management, attempting to claim prizes valued at $1,000 and $5,000. However, casino staff noticed that the tickets had been altered. Detectives who inspected the tickets said the tickets appeared to have the winning money symbol removed from other tickets and glued onto the tickets being presented for payment. The suspects told the DV management that the tickets were in their possession at all times. Both suspects were arrested for forgery and attempted grand larceny. Their bail.
We'll turn our attention overseas. An estimated 57,000 unaccompanied children have flooded across the U.S. border, fleeing violence in Central America since October. They are overwhelming that immigration court system, where to house the minors is just one of the flashpoints in the debate. There's also proposed legislation on Capitol Hill, stoking an already divided Congress. Craig Boswell reports from Washington.
Protesters near Tucson, Arizona and Vassar, Michigan are angry that immigrant children are being transported to their towns to be housed and processed for deportation.
We're not against legal immigration. What we're against is illegal immigration.
The demonstrations follow the first wave of deportation flights from the U.S. back to Honduras. To speed up that process, Republican Senator John Cornyn and House Democrat Henry Cuellar, both Texans, are introducing a bill to send 40 immigration judges to border towns. Their proposal calls for unaccompanied minors to have a preliminary hearing within 7 days. They will be sent home immediately if a judge rules they do not have special status or do not qualify for asylum.
This is a roadmap toward a solution. It's maybe not the only roadmap. If somebody's got a better idea, we're willing to listen to it. But what I will not do is to vote for a blank check for the president.
Lawmakers are still considering an administration request for $3.7 billion to help deal with the growing crisis.
So we would anticipate and certainly even expect bipartisan support for this proposal. What's critical is that Congress act quickly to pass it.
House Speaker John Boehner says he hopes to have a response to the president's request by the end of the week. Craig Boswell, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Meanwhile, keeping our eye on the economy, Janet Yellen told lawmakers the economic recovery is still ongoing and federal support is still needed. The Fed chair spoke before a Senate committee. She says the job market and stagnant wages are two of the lingering problems. In other news, Google will partner with the Swiss drug maker Novartis to develop smart contact lenses that would help diabetics. The lenses would help track glucose levels in a person's hairs using miniature electronics that would feed the information to a mobile device. The product won't hit the market for at least 5 years. Here's a look at the New York Stock Exchange with our stock market watch. The Dow up 5, NASDAQ and S&P both down, NASDAQ 24, S&P 3. Coming up on News 2, our summer fun idea. It has been going on for a while, but if you hadn't had a chance to relax at the Waco dock for some jazz music, there's one going on tonight until 9:30. Plus, a lesson about overcoming challenges. A special needs camp visits the Sugar Mill Veterinary Center and meets pets in wheelchairs and animals rehabilitating from neglect and abuse. We'll be right back. Well, in a special meeting called on Monday, the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority's governing board authorized the executive director to file with the Public Service Commission a petition for the implementation of a feed-in tariff, along with a proposed feed-in tariff power purchase agreement for the electrical system as per Act 7586. As a foundation for Act 7586, the legislature of the Virgin Islands on July 3, 2009, signed into legislation Act 7075 with the purposes of accelerating the exploration and development of renewable energy resources to reduce the territory's dependence on fossil fuel, protect the economy of the Virgin Islands from energy shortages and price spikes that are harmful to businesses and consumers and disruptive to investments, promote energy diversity, enhance system reliability, and minimize the contribution to pollution, climate change, and overall environmental degradation. We'll have a little more information on that. Senator Sen Hansen is speaking out on the repeal of the school calendar changes, which she described as a difficult but successful battle. The legislature passed a measure earlier this year that would shift the school calendar, but at the risk of having school teachers and staff work for extra days without getting paid. Although education officials have proposed ways to execute the change without added expense to the department, the changes were eventually repealed.
The paraprofessionals, the school lunch staff, and other support staff are now assured that they will not have to work for weeks and not get paid for it. I believe that when it got across clearly by the IRB director that any teacher or support staff forced to work by that school calendar that we just repealed simply will not get an allotment to pay them.
And it's time for some summer fun. And here is something you can add to your summer fun list. There are free, always, monthly concerts open to the community held at the Waco dock. You can plan for them. They are held on the third Tuesday of every month. The concerts were initiated in 2013 in conjunction with the company's centennial celebration. All guests are encouraged to bring their own chairs and relax or do some shopping. This month's concert features Bronco Dem at a Crucian Jazz Experience. It began at 5:30 and it goes on until 9:30 p.m. The University of the Virgin Islands Summer Jazz Ensemble, under the direction of retired Professor Austin Van Zen, opened the evening's entertainment at 5:30. The main act, Bronco Dem, includes Dr. Olaf Bronco Hendricks on saxophone, Marcevin David on bass, he's also the director, Blackness vocals, Elvis Pedro guitar, Antoine Clark keyboard, and Tyrone Davis on drums, Charles Farrell percussion. Some possible future veterinarians on St. Croix visited the Sugar Mill Veterinary Center and met pets in wheelchairs and animals rehabilitating from neglect and abuse. The students, ranging in age from 4 to 13, are part of the Humane Inclusion Camp facilitated by Diana King on St. Croix. Now, during their visit, they learned about veterinary medicine, animal welfare, and they had the opportunity to ask some questions. The students toured the facility and met Zazu, who is recovering from back surgery, and Thumbelina, who sustained a spinal cord injury in a dog attack when she was just a kitten, as well as Liberty, a dog who was recently rescued and rehabilitating from neglect and abuse. Zazu was recovering from back surgery after slipping a disc. So how successful was this year's Relay for Life? Executive Director of the American Cancer Society, Lorraine Ball, says the count is still on and there are a few more opportunities for you to lend a hand. The success for the Relay for Life, as you know, and the ACS in reaching the financial goal is primarily through the efforts of the teams. The Relay for Life of St. Thomas was held Saturday, June 21st to Sunday, June 22nd at CAHS.
Very important that we really either hit our goal or pass our goal, and our goal is $225,000 for, St. Thomas. Now, St. Croix met their goal, and we have to meet our goal, and, until the wrap-up, which is August the 15th, we're going to be having a radiothon on WSTA on the 22nd. I believe that will be from 10 to 11 o'clock. And then we have a big wrap-up party August the 15th at the Cardell parking in the back, where you have those elegant statues and everything. They have generously given us that area, and we're going to invite everyone to just come to an after-work party. And we're going to then announce who is the top income team, the team that has raised the most money for this relay. We have 4 teams in contention right now, and they are really trying very hard to outbeat each other. They still have time, and we're encouraging anyone within the sound of my voice to really continue to give to the American Cancer Society, because the money stays here.
Well, be sure to stick around. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.